did it get to the point where things evolved to the point where human beings have cell phones, human beings have electric cars, human beings have, like, we were animals in the forest, and now we have nuclear bombs. Like, we're that far along. The idea that it stops right there is crazy. I think we just keep integrating with technology, and eventually we become like a god. I think whether it's 1,000 years from now or 100,000 years from now, I think if the human being stays alive, the species stays alive, and nothing happens that resets us back into the fucking dark ages again, we get to a technological point where we control everything in the universe. I think that's what a god is. I think that's what happens to intelligent life when it gets to this ultimate state of technological achievement and control over its environment. That's probably what the universe made us for.
So
we're like little fucking salmon spry. What are they called? Fry. Yeah. Little fuckers going up the river, not even exactly sure what they're doing, but the universe has a plan.
So, like, I really love, Joe's perspective on that. And I know it doesn't really, you don't have to be Nostradamus to kind of see that eventually, humans will kind of merge with technology and be one with technology. So in kind of ways we could be gods. I know a lot of people are fatalist, pessimistic. They think, we're not going to make it. And that's why, you always have these like 2021 or, 1999, all these, disasters or dates where the world is supposed to end. And people really feed off that, right? But in my opinion, we're going to make it. At least I hope, because I'm more of a positive person. I think that, if we do 100 years, 200 years, 1,000 years, we're going to become one with technology. And we're probably, obviously, never going to die. Most of us are going to be immortal. And, that's my one big regret. And today I'm 38, right? It's my birthday. But, it doesn't really matter. I don't really make a big deal out of it when I get older because I'm trying to forget. But that's one of my big regrets, is not being able to be there to see all the technology. I love technology. I love tech. I love VR. I love this stuff. And I think about, all this stuff that came out just 40 years ago we didn't have. And look at where we've come now, right? Crazy. Have you guys ever heard of the blue zones? That's a kind of a cool thing. So there's these blue zones, which are these areas in the world where people live drastically longer than anywhere else. And so scientists observe these areas to try to figure out why these people live in so much longer. Some of these places are like Okinawa. So Okinawans, it's a little island off of Japan. There is Sardinia, which is an island in Sardinia, off in the Mediterranean. It's in Italy. Then there is, I think, a place in Costa Rica. And then there's also a place in Greece. Forget the name of the one in Greece. But the two that are really stand out, the Greece also, but the really big ones is the Okinawans and Sardinians, where 2 out of 3 live over 100. It's just insane. And so people speculate. Scientists have been studying a lot of these for a long time, trying to figure out. Of course, they eat a diet really rich in vegetables. Vegetables, a little fish. They're relatively active. Everything kind of in moderation. This kind of goes against the kind of fad that's going around. You guys probably heard about like the carnivore diet. It drives me absolutely bonkers hearing about this carnivore diet. And I'm sure that some of you guys are into it. And I'm going to hear about it in the comment, because every time I see a video about the carnivore diet, it's just flooded with people that are like, I don't know, this like affiliate marketing. They're posting these testimonials. Well, I cured this and I had gout. And not gout because of cough, but you know what I mean? Like all these diseases. And the point is that it's mainly just the weight loss, right? You could eat nothing but brown rice and you would cure most of the ailments that you have. Case in point, when I was around 225, about 2 years ago or so, I started on a really serious diet where I would run an hour every day, do strength training. I would eat nothing but like fish and vegetables, a really diverse diet. I did my bloods before, because I don't mind taking my own blood. So I did like a CBC, a complete blood count. I did, the cholesterol, LDL, HDL, even C-reactive protein. I mean, the kidney, liver, anything, prostate, any blood test you can think I did, Well, not any, but a lot of them. I looked at, where I was at, and it was, a lot of them were really high, a little bit over. Some of them were still kind of high normal. So I got on this diet. And after, I think it was almost 6 months to a year, I did my blood tests again, and it had improved, but marginally improved, which I was very frustrated because I even stopped, vaping. I had stopped drinking. Like, this was a complete, and an hour run every day, 7 days a week is a lot. I was expecting a bigger change. So after not seeing a big change, I restricted calories further and actually started losing weight. And I dropped about 15, 20 pounds, went down to like 190, where I'm at right now. Did another one recently, and it's a complete night and day on the change and all of the values on the CBC, the cholesterol, the LDL, everything changed for the positive, a lot better. And you know what I attribute it to is mainly the weight loss, and the more research I see, it kind of affirms that point, that weight loss is the biggest factor that's going to affect a lot of these levels. Why? Because your body actually makes cholesterol and your body processes certain things, and its ability to process and things is affected by the weight. So the more you weigh, the less it can process it effectively, which is going to affect those values. Even if you're eating nothing but vegetables, you're still not going to be looking good. It's not going to help on the actual charts as much as just you losing weight. So you could switch and eat nothing but meat, which the meat isn't necessarily making you better, but it's the fact that you're losing the weight. Second point is, and I hate to stretch this on and kind of veer off course, but we're talking kind of about longevity, is the allergen side of things. So a lot of people are allergic to certain things and they don't know, and by eating them, they're causing themselves inflammation and illness, right? Well, when you eat a very restrictive diet, like I'm just going to eat meat, you're cutting out some of the things that probably upset you, whether it be gluten or it be allergies to certain vegetables or, God knows what. And so that's also going to help. But that means it's not really the meat that is helping. It is the fact that you've restricted your diet severely. Now, this is the reality. This is like science-based, right? But then there's like that psychologist doctor out of Phoenix. I don't know that guy. But anyway, and the Liver King and all these people, they're just full of shit. And they're pushing these carnivorous diets. Even Jordan Peterson, as much as I like the guy, or used to like him more, now I'm seeing him kind of with this beef and salt and shit. Like, these people shouldn't be speaking on diets. And maybe I shouldn't either. But I'm just speaking from actual research that I've done, not necessarily completely based on subjective experience, right? So it's very dangerous. I would say do whatever you want, but just watch out on your CBCs, your cholesterol, your LDLs, because all of that saturated fat, all that meat, it's not good for you. And long term, you can have cardiovascular issues. I think that denying that vegetables are good for you is just crazy to me. Okinawans, going back to the Okinawan Sardinians, these people that are majority vegetarian, I see some of the, and I guess that's also subjective evidence, but some of the people that age the best, that live the longest, are vegetarians, or at least eat fish and don't eat predominantly meat diet, right? But anyway, so that's why it's harmful, is I think that if you rely too much on meat, you actually might be doing yourself a disservice, even though in the short term, maybe you're losing some weight and you think, whatever. So in a way, you could look at it. If you really have a hard time losing weight, you could do a carnivore temporarily, right? To lose the weight. Because you're like, well, that is lowering, making your blood work look better. You're healthier doing that. That's true. But when you adopt a routine that you can't keep long term, you end up going to yo-yo weight, right? That's my opinion. You're going to end up gaining it back when you go back to a regular diet. So I think that sticking to a moderate, more vegetables, maybe some fish, is going to be easier to sustain long term. It's going to keep you at a lower weight, because your weight, your blood pressure, and your blood glucose level are the three biggest indicators of long-term health and longevity. And there are three things you should always keep an eye on. What's your blood pressure and what is your sugar level? But there's a blood test you can do also to check on your diabetes, right? But overall, those are the major killers: cardiovascular, your diabetes, and and the blood pressure is connected to that. If you can keep your blood pressure under 120, right, like under 120, 180, whatever it is, I always look at the big one. It's the most important, like the 120. Usually, if that one's in check, the lower one's in check too. And I'm like, I stay 119, 118, sometimes a lower 120. That's really good. My wife is like 107 all the time. That's really good. And you want to see how your body reacts to sugars. You know what I mean? You don't want to be pre-diabetic. You don't want to get diabetes, because that also affects your mortality in a huge way. But anyway, I'm not going to go in this. I'm obviously not an MD or a dietitian or anybody that has should have credence. But since anybody is spewing their opinion, I'll throw my stuff out there that's actually backed by science that you can look up. And hopefully maybe it might change someone's mind or at least make you think a little more. But going back to longevity, and technology and this unification of technology and humanity and all this stuff, man, if I think it like what we were doing 40 years ago and what we're doing now with healthcare, right? It's drastic. With technology, it's even more drastic. We didn't have really internet, cell phones, or anything 40 years ago, back like 1980. Do I see 40 more years when I'm 19? No, I'm not getting 19. When I am in my 80s, do I see it possible that we'll be able to, prolong life in a drastic way or even stop aging? This is like a really big field of research that's picking up. And I think that the more money that goes into it is really going to help with the discoveries. But I don't know. I think that we're going to be able to prolong our life. We're going to make sure that you're not dying of certain diseases. Maybe hopefully we'll find something for Alzheimer's, for a lot of preventable cancers and cardiovascular disease. But I don't really think that I'm going to be able to live forever. It's just one of those things that you have to accept. And as you get older and as you go through birthdays, you kind of have to accept your own mortality and embrace it. And I swear, getting close to 40 is crazy because it seems like yesterday I was 20. Because when you're getting in your late 20s, you don't think about it that you're about to be in your 30s. You're like, I'm in my 20s. And then 10 years later, you're at the door of your 40. You're on the wrong side of 30. So it feels like 20 years went by, and in reality, it's just 10. And then next thing you know, you're like, oh man, you see 50, you see 60, you see your parents' ages, you see, your grandparents' ages. It puts everything in perspective, and suddenly you realize mortality, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to wake up one day, 10 years from now, I'm going to be almost 50, and be almost 60. Like, that's it. And we live in a culture that doesn't really appreciate the old age. We don't celebrate aging, We just see old people as, just not, how do you say? We don't see them as productive members of society. We don't see it especially. It's not like in Japan and stuff like that. So, we see 60s, 70s, 80s a lot of times, 90s. That's all just one elderly group, when in reality, you spend most of your life old, if you're lucky, And also, this is the age where a lot of your relatives and stuff, people get sick, people pass away, and it's very sobering, right? Very sobering. So I don't know. You can just live your best life. Try not to have middle-age crisis, Try to remember that, you have a long time left to live, right? I'm almost 40. I think maybe I got another 40 years, and I'm going to make use of it, and I'm going to do my best to stay young, stay healthy. And that's where all this carnivore diet and that's where the blue zones and all this stuff, I spend a lot of time thinking about this stuff nowadays. What about you guys? I don't know. What's the point of saving, investing, buying crypto, doing all this stuff if you can't enjoy it one day, if you're not going to live to enjoy it? So invest, and get your money right, but get your body right too. Take care of yourselves. Anyway, that's all I got. That's my message. That's my birthday message, right? Thank you guys for watching. And as always, buy red and sell green.